What you guys, got another video on keeping your Windows 10 PC alive after October 2025. Windows 10 IoT Enterprise LTSC versions are a version of Windows that a lot of people are downloading and installing onto their system. And it's because it does have the long-term servicing channel, which stands for LTSC. This means that it has up until 2032, this version. So it's not going to expire anytime soon. You won't receive any feature updates. That means you'll be stuck on 21H2 if you use this version I'm using right here. Now, this operating system is designed for medical devices like MRI and also CT scanners, industrial machinery and control systems, point-of-sale systems, and retail and hospitality and things like that. But people are now starting to download it and install it onto their computer. And that's because this version of Windows has an end of life of 2032. Now, looking at the applications, you can see they're all legacy applications. They're not the modern applications you're getting on modern versions of Windows. And it's been debloated. There's not a lot of stuff inside here. It's all been ripped out. So it's a pretty lightweight system. And this is probably why a lot of people are download and install it. You can see it's not activated. Now, legally, you need to activate your version of Windows. Microsoft doesn't seem to enforce this too much, but really you would need to get yourself an activation key to activate. And you can see right here, 21H2 is the version of this build for this version. This is the very last version. So you're not going to receive any more feature updates for this. It will stay on 21H2. So what does that mean for you? Well, using it as a desktop PC means that basically when you download your software and install it, it might not like that version of Windows anymore. It may flag it and say you need to update your version of Windows. This version is obsolete. And that's because it would have already reached end of life for desktop use. This is for not desktop use. This is for devices like we've already mentioned earlier on in the video. So in a couple of years' time, you might start seeing some major issues trying to install certain software and things like that. Because when you go to install the software, it's going to say, hey, your version of Windows is out of date. And that's because as a desktop, that version would have reached end of life already. But for devices, they don't install all of the other software like Steam and browsers and stuff like that. They just use it as a base system. They're not going to be installing all the software that you would install as a home user. So that's where the problems might become a little bit later on. I have made videos showing the issues with drivers and things like that as well that don't work. So NVIDIA drivers and things like that will definitely not work. Adobe software will start to flag it and you'll have trouble installing it later on down the line. And the reason why I'm bringing it to your attention is because I want to be transparent and clear with you that using something like this might cause you issues later on down the line because it was never really designed for desktop use. So software companies will affect this particular operating system later on if you're using this older 21H2 version. And there's older versions out there floating around as well. Applications are all legacy versions. They're not the modern versions, so they are just basic. No AI involved in there, no Copilot, none of that stuff, which is good for a lot of people. It's quite minimalist. There's not a lot of stuff inside here. Now, without the activation, you will run into some issues. You're not going to be able to do any personalization with the operating system. All of this is going to be locked down. So changing your background, colors, lock screen, themes, fonts, start and taskbar, all of these will be locked out because it's not activated. So the only way you'll get access to all of this is actually activating this version of Windows. Now, just so you know that the keys for these are all volume keys. They are not going to be OEM keys. They are not going to be retail keys. So regardless of what people are telling you on the internet, they are not. They are volume keys. And these are normally done via a contract with Microsoft, and they will give you the source for the ISO file, and they would obviously activate it via volume license. And it's normally a multi-activation license. So let's take a look here at the extended date here, 2032. That is the date. And that is why a lot of people are starting to use it. Now, how they go about activating it is up to them. I'm not going to go into that into this video, but basically that's what they're doing. And they're hoping by installing this and updating it will give their PC another long lease of life. So that is going down the LTSC route. Let's talk about another route you can go down to give your PC a new lease of life, and that is installing Linux. Now, Linux has quite a few different versions that you can use, and there's also versions like Fedora, Manjaro, and you've also got Neon, KDE Neon, and there's a bunch of other ones as well, like Kubuntu as well, which is quite nice. And these are all highly customizable and they're free to use. They do receive support. And if you look at some of the distributions for the Plasma 6, there's a ton of them here like Basite and Catchy OS and a bunch of others like Endeavour OS and so on. So depending on what version you're going to go for, you can give your PC a new lease of life. This will receive all of the security updates. You're not going to have any telemetry or any sort of privacy concerns with a lot of these versions of Linux. They're super lightweight, and you can choose other versions as well, like Zorin OS, which I've shown on this channel. This is a great option for people that are coming over from Windows as well. And the Linux community are obviously making a big push right now to try and get people to transition over to Linux, as you can probably guess by looking at the comment section of every tech YouTuber out there that does Windows stuff. There'll be some Linux person there promoting Linux. And that's because right now Windows 10 is coming to an end and they want to jump on that. Now you can use things like Mint and also Ubuntu as well. Let's just get Fedora installed onto a virtual machine so I can show you. So you click the download button and you would then choose the Fedora KDE Plasma Desktop 42 version for Intel and AMD processors, 32-bit and 64-bit. There's other versions here. Just download the correct version, create yourself a bootable USB flash drive, and if you want to see a full installation guide, let me know in the comments section. When you click on the install button, once you've booted up to the live environment, you can choose your language and you will see something looking like this. So the ones in red need your attention. For instance, system, installation, destination, root account, and also user account creation. So let's go ahead and we'll click on these and we'll make the required changes. So let's click on the installation destination. I'm going to choose this little tiny drive here, and you can see it's automatic. Storage configuration is automatic. We're going to keep it basic here for people that are not familiar with it. You can encrypt your drive as well, but understand the risks of when you encrypt your drive. You need to obviously know all them details to gain access to your data. Root access, again, this is disabled here, but we need to enable this feature. This is so you can gain root access to it. And if you want to gain access by root, you can do by toggling it onto enable and giving it a good strong password. I'm going to give it a reasonable simple password here, but you can give it a much more stronger password. This is for root access to your system. And you can also allow root SSH if you want to. I would leave this off if you're not going to use it. And then what you want to do is click done and take you back to the main menu. And then we can correct the other two. So we've got the root access done. Now all we need to do is create a user account. Just put your name in, whatever you want to use. Let's just stick Britec in there. And now we need to give that user account a password. This needs to be different from your root password for security. So we're going to go ahead and put that in right here. And once we've done this, we can click done. And once we've done this, we can then continue with the installation. So let's going to click on done here. There we go. And now everything has been put back to a normal color instead of having any red on there. We can now start the installation and it will just go through and install the system. Doesn't take too long, but I'll skip through and get to the boot up process. Now, once it reboots, you can pull your flash drive out, and what will happen is you can then sign in to your newly installed operating system, depending on what one you've gone for. So here we can see the login screen. Going to go ahead and log in. And you can read all through this sort of stuff if you're not familiar with it. I'm just going to quickly close this off. And there we are. We're at the desktop and we've got Fedora installed on here. Now, Fedora is very customizable. You can customize it. If you want to see a separate video on customizing any of these versions, then let me know in the comments section. I'll do my best to make that video for you. But it looks very Windows-esque. It's got your volume here. It's got your calendar. It's got your start menu that looks very much like Windows. And it's just checking for updates automatically. And you can view these updates or upgrades from here. And you can click on them and it will open it up and you can view them. So it will take a bit of time to populate. And once that populates, so what that's going to do is, depending on the size of the update, it'll go off and fetch the updates for this system and it will show them on the screen. And then you can just click on it and it will go ahead and install them. So I'm going to try and keep this pretty simple, but you can see here we can now install these updates. So you can get more information about it if you want to. But you could just click on updates and it will update the system. And it will do that in the background. I can close this window off now and carry on with what I'm doing. So what else can you do on here? Well, you can do everything like you can on Windows, like surf the web, go to YouTube, play some games. You can do a lot of that stuff on Linux. There is some things you can't do. And of course, that is to do with the softwaring companies. They don't obviously support Linux. And if that is the case, then you can't use that software. So going to their website and check in would normally tell you whether you can use it or not. Adobe Suite, you can't use any of their stuff. They don't support Linux. Same thing goes for, Camtasia Studio, which I use. You can't use that on Linux. And there's some other stuff as well. You're just going to have to use alternative software other than using that because it's not going to work. If you use Microsoft Office, again, you're not going to be able to use that, but you can use LibreOffice or something like that. Customization, like I've said, I'm not going to go too deep on this, but you can customize it with widgets and other bits and pieces to make it your own. It's very customizable and very easy to use. You can change themes. You can change the taskbar, transparency, you can do everything on these operating systems. So if you're into tinkering and tweaking, then by all means, this might be something that you would like. If you want something simple just to get you up and running, probably go for Zorin OS or something like that, or Mint. But if you're a bit more advanced, you can go for something like this and go for a bit more customization if you want to tinker. But just remember to be careful with what you're clicking on and installing. They need to be compatible with what you're using, otherwise you will run into issues. So you just got to be a bit more careful when you're messing around with themes and widgets and things like that, because they can obviously cause an issue. I'll show you that in a second. But you can change wallpaper just like you can on Windows. And you've got your own mail clients. You can use those as well. You've got LibreOffice for Office Suite. You won't be able to use Outlook or any of those other software that you install onto the system. You can't use any of those. You can use the web-based versions, but you can't use any of the installation versions. You can customize your display configuration here, as you can see, and there's a load of other stuff you can mess around with inside here. Take your time, learn it. I would advise you to, basically put it onto a virtual machine. So what can you expect from Linux? Well, you're not going to get any ads, that's for sure. Then they don't bundle ads in their operating system. Spyware, leaking your activity and privacy, like data harvesting, there's none of that in this build. Now, there's a little teeny bit inside Ubuntu, but you have to opt out of that. Also, no forced updates. There is no surprise app changes or any of that sort of stuff. There's no false registration, subscriptions, or hidden costs. It's completely free. You can download it, install it. You will get all your security updates, and it will give that old PC a new lease of life in the sense of you can still use it. There's a lot of people out there that will claim that it boosts performance and it does all this sort of stuff. It doesn't really do any of that sort of stuff. It's just a lighter operating system that's optimized better than what Windows is, which makes the feel of it a little bit more snappy. but you're still going to have the same old CPU, the same old RAM, the same old hard drive, and so on. So just bear that in mind. But the operating system itself is optimized, and it's quite, it performs better in some respects than Windows when you're moving stuff around and looking at stuff. It has that nice performance feel to it. Now, again, themes, you can see here, when you're installed in themes on the system, you might get a little bar telling you to be very, very careful. It says use caution when accessing user-created content shown here, as it may contain executable code that hasn't been tested by KDE or the distributor for safety, stability, and quality. Now, this is the thing you've got to be careful when you're going off and you're installing it. So you may also get issues with installing them, and they can also break the system a little bit. If you use the wrong one that isn't coded right for this version, it can cause a problem, just like it would with any other operating system. So just bear that in mind when you're messing around with it. Try and stay in the safe parameters of, say for instance Fedora, they've got their own built-in ones on here. I would stick with that for now. Now, what other options you got? Well, you can extend your Windows 10 security updates by using the enrollment. I talked about this yesterday. If you haven't seen that video, watch yesterday's video. It talks about the free extended 1 year updates, but you will have to sign into a Microsoft account to get it for free, or you can use your Microsoft rewards. If you don't want to do any of that, it's going to cost you $30 to enroll, and that will give you 1 more year with Microsoft, and you can stay on the version of Windows that you're on, Windows 10. You stay on there. You don't have to download LTSE or any of that stuff. The other options is Zero Patch. I would only use this after using the $30 version of Windows, because they might extend a bit further, because people ask questions about Zero Patch. There's nothing wrong with Zero Patch. It does microscopic updates. It doesn't patch the kernel, and because Microsoft's operating system is locked down, it can only do these microscopic patches for the actual system. You can read all about it on their website. It tells you about some of the stuff there. Now, people talk about the free version. The free version is not going to cut it for you. You are going to need to spend €24.95 plus tax per year for that computer. You're going to have to do that to be safe after the fact. So if Microsoft pulled a plug after 1 year, you can come on to Zero Patch, and hopefully this will keep your PC running and keep you safe. But like I said, always use the Microsoft option first, because they will patch the kernel and everything else. Now, other options are ChromeOS. You can use something like that, or you can use FidoOS. These are other 2 options that you can use. If you want something lightweight and you don't want to go down the Linux route, you can use FidoOS or ChromeOS. Download these and set them up on your system. If you want to see another video on FidoOS, let me know in the comment section down below. I made one about ChromeOS recently, but if you want to see one on FidoOS, let me know and I'll install that for you and show you. But other than that, they're your options available to you. So choose which one suits you. Don't get caught up on the internet drama. It's not that bad. There's a lifeline there for you. You can either use the Windows Extended Security Updates option, and Microsoft may extend that for another 2 more years after that. You just don't know, but stick with that version first. That will give you at least another year, possibly another 2 after that if Microsoft decide to do it for another year again and another year after that, which is normally what they do. The other option is ditch Windows altogether and install a version of Linux on your old system and cut ties with Microsoft altogether. There's a lot of panic and drama going on in the comment section and also on every channel I've seen, and really it's Linux users creating hysteria really and making it worse than what it is. It's not that bad. There's going to be a solution for you. Just choose which one you want and stick with it, and you should be pretty much okay. Anyway, I hope this answers all your questions. My name has been Brian from briteccomputers.co.uk. Just want to say a quick shout out to my YouTube members. I appreciate the support. I shall catch you in the next video, or I'll see you on the Discord server. The link is in the video description. Thanks again for watching. Bye for now.